Ik zie dat.
All right. So guys, good afternoon. Today the purpose is actually to understand, to learn from what is present in ACA. So the audience, Yasuko, is the Revit team. They have not so much ACA experience. Well, some of them have, of course. Robert is always in the meeting as well, but there's others that do not have, and almost no experience on ACA. So the purpose is to understand these this special Japanese construction functionality that we introduce in ACA, because we are with our application on Revit, we need to do similar things. We need to introduce methods to easily, semi-automatically, whatever, draw beams and so on. So it would be good to have Robert, but also the development team, understand why Japanese construction is has its power, in particular for the Japanese market. But I think there's more to it than just Japanese market. A lot of other customers of hsbcad could really benefit from such functionality. So if it's not that we're going to mimic or need to mimic the Japanese construction functionality in Revit right now, but whatever ideas we can get from it, maybe at some point there will come the request to implement something like that in Revit. So all inspiration would be good in that direction. So it's not that the team that will be listening will be contributing directly with the development of the Japanese construction, but it's more like inspiration for what needs to be done. Okay?
Okay.
So who is in the meeting?
It's Carlos, Marcelo, Robert, Rafael, and Luis.
Okay, so you probably never met any of them. No. So maybe guys, you can introduce yourselves in a sentence, and then we can move on.
Okay.
Robert?
Of course. Of course.
One sentence.
In one sentence.
In one sentence, yes, please.
Can be many commas, but
Yeah. Well, I'm Robert with some Revit experience also. But that's already two sentences. No, but with some Revit experience, some ACA experience, and currently sitting in a real nice office outside a nice ocean, watching the Swedish coast. So
Come on. No need to exaggerate.
I can continue, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I am Luis from HBEC office. I am the manager of the office and the developer for the support tools and Revit. Yeah, so I can help you in anything you need. Yeah. Maybe we have talked before.
So EC office is Ecuadorian office.
Yes.
Okay.
okay, we host.
So I will continue.
Marcelo.
Yeah. I'm Marcelo, so also I'm in the Ecuadorian office. I have been working for Revit a lot of time, Revit API basically. And what else? We are at 2,700 meters here in Quito, in the middle of the war.
So Carlos or Rafael?
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Hello. I'm Carlos from the EC office. I'm a software developer. And yeah, that's one sentence. That's me.
Okay, I'm Rafael. I also work for the Ecuadorian office. I am an architect. I work with Revit, and currently I'm learning how to program, which is a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Rafael.
Rafa.
Yeah, you dropped for a second, Rafael. That's why we are repeating your name.
No worries. I think I didn't drop. I just think my voice didn't come out.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else in the meeting? Okay. And here with us is also Joanne, and of course Jill, and Alex, and Dirk, and Yasuko.
Yeah.
Who are you, Yasuko?
Well, I'm from Japan office, and I'm now here to improve Zairai function. Yeah.
So Zairai is the Japanese name for Japanese construction.
Yes.
Zairai is the name. You have the stage, Yasuko. Go ahead.
Okay. So do we start from the Japanese construction, the function?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perhaps what you could do, let's say the PowerPoint presentation that you have given yesterday, just show something, or those
Yeah.
pictures, so that they understand what the context is. Oh,
Oh, no.
that was this morning.
Sitting somewhere.
So you can also show the pictures there. Right?
This one?
Yes, because we have an architect, so he will be interested in seeing this.
Mm-hmm. So it is said that stick frame is drawn with spray, the walls, but the Japanese construction drawn with lines. So yeah. Well, normally with stick frame we have walls here, but if we use Japanese construction, then we need walls. So that means we can have more space in one room, and so we need to draw posts or beams individually. I mean manually. So for the customer, it takes a long time to draw one construction with hsbcad, and that is one of the problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
For now. And yeah.
She's afraid of me.
Yeah. Now, the people in the meeting, they cannot compare really, because there's no stick frame context. Okay. So yeah, but just explain what Japanese construction is about.
No, so especially the next pictures I'll put.
Next picture.
Yeah.
This one.
Yes. Yeah.
Is this special?
Yeah, okay, because then they see somewhat what the context is. So what you see is that the beams have a lot of processing on it. So this is already different with the stick frame construction. You see, so that all the beams, they have beam cut, they have dovetails, and of course they have quite a number of very special connectors. But you can see somewhat on the right picture. You see the one that is carrying this beam. There is what is called kamatsugi on the left side. Then you have those house tenons, quite a lot of house tenons. So it means those beams are being processed with quite complex toolings, and the beams are being positioned in the construction in I would say in a fairly manual manner, in comparison with the stick framing. In stick framing, you're going to draw a wall, and in that wall you will do, let's say, the distribution of all the beams. Here it is important where those beams are being positioned. You don't get really kind of a rule how the beams are inserted in the walls and on the floor. So you need a lot of, let's say, manual interaction to decide what type of beam with what type of section you're going to position where. And there, let's say, hsbcad has failed in Japan because the existing functions are quite cumbersome to draw a beam on a certain location. And the Zairai function, which is Japanese for Japanese construction, tries to answer that problem. And while doing this development, I have the feeling that type of function is very useful for, let's say, for the general market for hsbcad. And it would be very interesting for to have also that type of approach in the Revit environment.
Okay.
Alex, what's the main difference between this and our timber? I mean, this looks to me just the timber.
Good point.
But if you would draw this with the timber functions, it will take a huge amount of time to do it.
Yeah, that's right.
In the Japanese function, I would say there is a type of system in how the beams are being distributed.
Yeah.
But the system is not fully automatable. You cannot really fully automate that the insertion. So you really have to almost draw it beam by beam. But there is still some type of structure in it, and you will see it with the example that she will give.
Yeah.
The Japanese construction starts from a grid, and the typical grid size is like 910 millimeters or 910 millimeters.
Yeah.
And all the beams are being positioned on those nodes or between those nodes, and you have some special rules about how the windows needs to be made. Well, you will see. I mean, those that have worked with the timber function will indeed argue that you can do that all with the hsb timber functions.
Yeah.
But they will recognize that the speed difference between entering with this function and with the normal timber is a huge difference. And that is.
And why if that's a huge difference, why don't the Europeans use that then?
Well,
because
for example, they do not use a grid system.
Okay.
Not so often.
And,
not so often,
and it can only work with the grid system.
Yes, but yes, for the moment it can only work with a grid.
Yeah. Okay.
You have the capability of sizing your grid. I would say individually. Let's say you will see here that there is a grid, really fixed grid of 910 or 910, but the distribution of those grid lines you can manipulate, and in that sense you could create let's say a layout for the European.
But that hasn't happened in the 20 years that the existence. That hasn't happened up to now.
This is a new development.
Well, yes and no. Japanese construction has been around for quite a while.
Yeah. Certainly 12 years since I've been here. Yeah.
But of course now we're reinvestigating or improving it to even because it is the solution for particular type of customers in Japan. And as a reference, it's maybe good to know, they want to draw a house with all tooling and everything in 2 hours. So 2 hours is the amount of time that is given to have one project finished. So
that's not a lot of time. That's how Groothuis, for example, how much time they need, but they have tons of customization with TSLs. So that's pretty quick.
But But anyhow, let's say Yasuko will demonstrate this now, and then you will have a better understanding, and that will give us a basis of further discussion.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just prepared this drawing with walls and also openings. And yeah, we need walls to use this function. And first of all, we need to set the wall level, the group here, and plates. Let me insert plates. Here is the group of walls, and here is the group to add these beams. Yeah, to add these beams in it.
Yeah. So let's say those groups are in fact, let's say, which indicates what type of beams it is. So they also want that the beams are being added automatically in each wall element, so that you have in fact an elementization ready for the construction.
That would be item containers in the Revit context, yes?
Okay. And they also want that they are assigned to a group depending the function of the beam, so that they can, if they only want to see the post or they only want to see the plates, so that they can easily switch between those types, because otherwise you have the problem, as you have to draw it manually, that you don't see the trees through the forest anymore.
Yeah. So the groups here have item container relationship and visibility filters functionality. That's why. So I can maybe give a little bit more context. So what you see here, well, right now it's HSB language, so things are not translated.
No.
Because normally Yasuko works in Japanese. Thank you. So you see on the right side a number of tabs. The first one is plates, bottom plate, top plate, and so on. Each of those will insert a certain type of beam. Okay, so Yasuko is starting with just the plates. Plates is think of stick frame elements where you have a bottom plate and a top plate. So the horizontal beam at the bottom and the top of a panel. And then on the left side is kind of a little bit of general settings, like, okay, we're working on this floor. The floor above is this one, the floor below is this one. So from these identifications of floors, we know what walls are in there, what beams are in there, and so on. And there's height. So if we draw a post from one floor to another, that's a certain type of post. Then, of course, we know what the lengths need to be and so on. And then as well, yeah, at the bottom, you see, of course, cancel or close. And then do all or do some.
Sorry.
You just closed, yes.
Do some. That sounds pretty random.
Yes. So that is the manual or semi-automatic way. And that's a special insertion way of this Japanese construction. It's also unique in the HSB offer. So in the hsbcad on the ECA program, there's no other functionality like this to insert beams. So that's really a special one. You do all, maybe you were going to fire it. Do all. What happened now? What happened?
The bottom plate.
Could you set it to conceptual to show it?
Yeah, is inserted this beam. These beams.
Right. So it has found all walls automatically. And
Could you switch to conceptual, please? Show it a little bit more clear.
Conception.
Conceptual.
There. Yeah.
Here.
At the bottom.
Here. In here? There.
Okay.
Yeah, architectural.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Um,
hide the wall model. Man.
Okay. So it has automatically added all these beams in this one go. Okay.
Per element.
Wait.
It's per element in this case.
In this case, per wall element, indeed.
Well, let's say per wall, it does not need to be can be a pure ACA wall, but if you use HSB walls, then it can retrieve more information and do more logical stuff.
Yeah. Okay. The only thing is if their continuous beams are inserted per element, item thing.
Yes, per architectural
Yes.
thing, basically. So okay, that's a do all functionality. Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would compare that to do some. So right now she's in this do some mode, and do some is not only insert but also remove back, remove. So you see that when she hovers over, you see this location where a potential beam could be added. So it's either that one or this one. So when she clicks somewhere in the neighborhood, the beam is inserted. Or when she selects now again in this neighborhood, this beam is deleted. Okay.
So you can imagine if you have to draw this to do this with the normal timber function, it requires a lot of time to do this. So here it is just sufficient to in the area you see it's highlighting where it has found a logical position to position that type of beam, and with one click it just positions it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for this one, the do all was maybe a nice one to do, but there's other things where it's not so easy to do all, and then you need a little bit more interaction. So, or you could do all and just delete a couple if needed. So, or merge or join whatever beam operations you want to do at that point. Yeah. So maybe something else in general. So the plates. Now we're on the tab of the plates here on the right side of the dialog. There's basically all the settings for plates. If you go to top plates, there will be other settings. If you go to floor beams, there's other settings and so on. So each beam has, of course, its particularity for insertion.
Yeah.
For instance, for plate, there is something. If you go back to the first tab, there's something like, do you want to have your, if you look to just a floor plan from on the floor plan, do you want your horizontal beams to have preference over the vertical beam? So in the corner cleanup and so on. This is the overshoot in X and Y and so on.
What's the difference between plates and bottom plates? Because you've now just drawn bottom plates, but you're in the plates.
Well, that is, let's say, this is what you need to understand how the Zairai works. So that is the let's say the really specification for the Japanese construction. So they have plates. Plates means that is placed under the floor sheeting. And then you have the bottom plates, which in fact the bottom plate of your wall elements.
Okay, yeah, of the first, yeah.
No, just on top of it.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Underneath the floor sheeting and above the floor sheeting.
Yeah, okay.
Do all is for all of the beams, for all of the tabs that you have there, plates, bottom plates, top plates, or do all is only for one. For example, do all right now is only for all of the configurations.
Do all.
Yeah, so we have the option to do not press in interior walls. So if I tick in this one, then only the bottom plates are inserted to the external walls.
But it is over the complete drawing, Marcelo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's say it is not over the complete drawing, it is over the complete floor level of the floor.
Okay.
True. That's
Ja,
that's a valid point. Moet nog een keer opnieuw sharen?
Well,
Okay, thank
are you guys seeing Yasuko her screen or?
No,
Guys,
no, we
No?
couldn't see right now.
Okay, something froze.
Okay, so let's just
internet problem.
no, maybe.
No.
So let's just we'll stop sharing. No, don't share again. Maybe that improves things. Is it better?
no.
Oh, it's a little
Maybe I'm gonna connect you on.
Okay, that was it.
Yes. Okay, now it's there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, now let me insert top plates, this one. Okay, if I click dual, then top plates is inserted. So now we have the plates and also top plates.
And I see that the TSLs have been inserted.
Yes, because I have settings for the connection here. This is the automatic insertion of the connections. And there's some rules here.
But it's based on the type of beam.
Yeah, beam type. And
Are those type related to the types that you have in the tabs?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how you know how to connect which beam type to which beam type with a certain. Okay.
Yeah, and also we can describe the width or height of the beams.
Yeah. So it's in fact
It's all about these predefined beam types.
Well, not predefined because the rule set is kind of general. What you have here, well, yes, there is a list of beam types. It's not a complete list. True. And yes, these are the beam types that are typically inserted by the other list, but there's basically any set of criteria, including width and height ranges, name fields, name, and but input.
Okay, but the biggest thing is, well, the filtering is not that you can easily say if a beam is bigger than a certain height or a certain width. That's easy, but how to determine what kind of beam type it is, that's
true. Yes,
way
beam
more
type
difficult.
Are assigned during the process. You're right. All the plates that were added are of type plate.
Yeah, because you added it through that function, so it has that beam type. Yeah.
I think maybe beam is generic. I'm not completely sure. Are there plates present? Yeah, stick frame top plate.
Yes,
That's all.
but the plate is identified as beam in the in this function. So
okay, sure.
Yeah, but it's so they were actually the Revit team was actually looking to this already before. So maybe good to pay a little bit of more attention. So yes, there one say a T connection with the main from a beam to any other beam that matches this type of criteria, so width and height criteria, I think. So between these dimensions and the second beam within these dimensions, we want a, what is it type?
Is there
Just a stretch.
yes, stretch?
Yeah, a stretch to be added. The contact. So yeah, it can be a generic rule, but it could also be more specific. And then I don't remember exactly the execution order. Maybe it runs through the set until it finds, or the last one or something that finds, or the first one that hit.
Yeah, but could one connect could have multiple? Well, could multiple criteria could fulfill that one connection?
Yes. So obviously, when you process the rule set, you have to make a decision. Is the first one or yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
or you have priorities or something.
Yes, that could also be. But basically, you specify the tool type. It's either a standard tool, and then or we have a TSL tool. They're all on the family of tool entity, and then which would correspond to the Revit family basically, and then the type, which the set of values for the properties.
Yeah.
So I think this rule set, it can then also be stored in a catalog, is there's a tick at the bottom here somewhere to automatically add a tool, the left here, while adding beams, and as such build up the tools. But wasn't there also functionality to just go and apply the rule set to the complete construction?
The TSL?
Yeah, the complete rule set.
Or do a selection.
Or on a selection. That's maybe it's not.
Is there also a function
that could be
to apply a rule set to a selection?
Yeah.
Chris, you're dropping a bit.
Kept. Is this kept in the HSB company
yes.
folder? And
those are let's say those are the catalog.
The catalog.
That is let's say one of the demands that we need to achieve before she leaves, is to have a system more user-friendly system to manipulate all the settings. So now they complain that they get lost, that in one dialog you have to set those settings, another one those settings, etc. So they feel not confident in handling this. So we need to bring this all together, let's say, in one dialogue, which would mean, I have to discuss with you, Chris, but I think that would be, say, one dialogue which is calling the existing dialogues, where you can do the manipulation of your catalog.
We can discuss later, Alex.
Yeah.
There's no point here, no?
Yeah.
So this is about how it works conceptually.
Yeah.
How do you determine the connection type? So if you go to in the edit current rule set, you have these connection types. So you can are those predefined?
Yes, and the geometry is hard coded against it. So a T type is a male hitting a female beam. T-type connection female is a female where a male beam is hit. And then a cross is any type of miter connection or plate.
It's also a corner or a corner connection. That's a different one.
No, corner would be a T. So there is, so of course, the corner would need to be resolved, right? That's why if it's not resolved, then this rule can be applied. So yeah, there's a lot of parameters if you want to go and detect automatically the T connection, and in particular at corners. So, but yeah, there's some flexibility with his tick box to allow unresolved corners to be recognized as.
Mm-hmm. And what about end connections or like the scarf joint or the end chamfer, stuff like that?
There's not in here currently. It's not a need. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I don't think so. It's
to split beams.
Well, there is a need to split beams, but this is, let's say, the post-processing. Once this whole construction was done, then you will say, okay, this beam is too long. I will do the scarf joint at that location.
Well, for instance, yes, but they could, in some case, I guess, split beams of this type with these dimensions. If you want to split them, but there's more logic to splitting, right?
I mean, you have a wall, you have a window, they have a post over there, so you will not split it at that location. So that type of things is really a manual
Yeah.
approach. That the purpose of this function is to be able to draw 95% of your construction extremely fast, and then you need those manual modifications that you're not able to automate.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue a bit with.
Okay.
But it's nice we see already these metal shapes here in the background added, while just drawing these individual beams basically. Yeah. So that was inserted already by adding these plates there. Okay, so let's do something else. So.
Yeah. So and just a remark of this function. So you have seen that she has drawn the bottom plate and the top plate, but there is now a function that will do both of them at the same time. So I'm now collecting a number of beams. Let's say because now with previously you have for the same wall you have to call the function to do the bottom plate and then the same function to do the top plate. But in fact you have to select the same item, you have to select the same wall element. So why not do both of them at the same time? So now I'm more collecting those types in groups, which you can call with one go, and it will do the top and bottom plate. And perhaps I will be able to go that far that you can just click, and the whole wall will be framed directly with the, let's say, with the settings of.
So let's see what these are, for instance, around openings, or just continue maybe.
Yeah.
What your typical process is.
Okay.
You like to work in plan view, no?
View the 2D.
No, you like to work in plan view.
Yes. Well, I just want to show the marks when I put some.
Okay. Yeah.
cross.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the customers do some for post. If I click the all, then every node posts are inserted.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but in some case, the customer wants to skip this.
Is it doing it on grid, or what is this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it can snap automatically on a grid. But, you can also in the middle. So you can also say that you want to have halfway.
The settings.
And then there are
halfway the grid. Yeah.
a set of options, but that would be too complex to explain now.
Is it here or in the grid definition? It's in the grid definition, no?
It's in the grid definition.
The grid definition has additional.
It has an intermediate point. It will snap to those intermediate points as well.
Okay.
What's this? Would these be like studs?
No, well,
it's called posts, but
there are posts, and they have a special consideration in respect of tooling that has to be done.
Structural.
Yes.
They're structurally important.
And quite often this post will go through the bottom plate and through the top plate as well. So there are some some things that needs to be addressed, while the studs will really be positioned between the top and bottom plate.
Shall we move on to
like you want to, whatever.
Okay, then let me insert some stats.
Well, okay, you should first do the windows.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, show some opening stuff, headers and trimmers and.
Or you can do that with that one function that is at the end.
At the end, no, because I'm not using the latest version, because I have a problem with using TSL with the.
Just do the standard. Okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But we understand. We always want to show the latest and greatest functionality, but it's okay. Is the visualization now with the? So I think
could you show it in 3D a bit, maybe to
yeah, but I think it works a little bit better. It already added those. Oh no, that it maybe works a little bit better not working in conceptual. No?
No. So
well, it's just visual per. Well,
Oh.
yeah.
No, do your thing.
okay. Can we continue?
Yeah.
Okay, headers.
Dat is ongelooflijk. Dat is zo verbouwd, hè.
But there is no.
No post, so I cannot insert. So headers and cells always stretch to post.
Well, not always. It's an option.
Not always.
Yeah. So if you look
But
at
you select an opening. You
Oh.
select an opening, or what do you select?
But the thing is, Robert, she doesn't select. The engine knows what's there and proposes things.
No, but
that
you say do. You say do some. You have to do a selection.
no.
no. So the thing, if it is in a 3D wire, then you will see the let's
The
say
jig.
the jig showing where it will
The
go
graphics,
to the,
temporary graphics, where you can insert things.
Okay.
So
But when you okay.
Oh, but she still has to click somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah, she's clicking somewhere. That's true, but she's not selecting. It's not selection of an entity or an element.
No.
A point. It's a point selection.
It's a point selection. Yeah,
in
Do
the
it again.
neighborhood.
in the neighborhood of.
Do something.
Yeah. Okay.
You see this jig? So it
Yeah.
has recognized it can place a cell over there.
Yeah.
Now it is visible over the internet.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can see it.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You select it. Okay.
Again, when you select again at that location, it will disappear. So it's not.
Mhm.
So it's a toggle for insert again. No, so you can do all and then remove some or.
Mhm. Okay. And what about? I also saw some jacks. And
Yeah.
Some braces. Maybe braces is a nice one.
This is
On the left side. The braces is for the floors.
Okay.
And then you can also show the diagonal before. Do your stuff. Just show the.
I'm just curious to see if there's like a web shown to or.
So now there's no rule set to
Ah.
the connector. Therefore, you have just those.
Okay, but this is actually looking to two connecting elements and
Yes.
placing it, or two connecting
Beams.
beams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bottom plates.
So yes, you're right. I understand the nature of the question. Yes, it works with a certain beam type system. Yes, it works with a certain wall grid system.
Yeah.
So you cannot do a free thing. No, within a certain approach, you can start to do things automatically. Okay.
jacks.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and then for me it's fine. This is based on the grid as well.
No,
No,
this is
correct.
just the
It's-
window position.
Yes.
Window left and right.
And so, for example, here you see the Japanese construction. When you put a jack, there's no stud that goes down to the floor or to the top. It's just that position.
Yeah, okay.
And why is that? Because the top and the header and sill are carried by the posts.
Yeah.
The structurally forces are distributed to the posts. So the posts play an important role in this system for structural.
Yeah, and also the post extend through to the top plate, and normally on elements it would be on the top plate, and the top plate would carry the forces to the studs too. Yeah.
Oh, and in this case it doesn't.
Some do and others don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's the difference between studs and posts then?
Well, as Alex said, the studs run from pot bottom plate and top plate in between,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
posts.
Okay.
Extend through.
Okay,
go
yeah.
through it,
Yeah.
That's the
But not
difference.
always. But
Yeah.
not
Not
always.
always.
Okay.
But they're also thicker dimensions. They have another type, typically of tooling, so they
The
appear
post,
in
you mean?
the posts.
Yeah.
So they appear in the rule set as something else, so they can accept.
I see a lot of well. Let's not jump into conclusions. Sorry, just continue.
No, now you make me hear.
Who wants the diagonals? Because this is beautiful.
No.
No, yes.
So those are diagonals, which you could imagine you have to do that manually, which require a lot of work. And there you see a set of options appearing. So the arrow shows in which direction the beam will be rising, and if there is one on the front side or the back side. So you can move with your jig to select. Here you only want to have one. If she goes closer to the middle, you will see there are two, and if she fits to the other side, you will see that the direction of the rising one will change. So you have in fact 4 options, which you can choose just by moving your mouse around and make that easy selection. And now this diagonal stud is inserted. Again, you can draw this with the normal timber function, but I do not have to explain you how long that would take before you have drawn one of them.
On top of that, so typically, that's what I said, Yasuko typically works in floor plan, and the jigging, the jig graphics represent the Japanese way of displaying diagonal beams, for instance, in this case, on a floor plan. So in Japan, they have this floor plan system of drawing that where you draw, everything is readable in the floor plan, whether that is a post, whether that is a stud, whether how the diagonal goes and so on. Although you
that's why everything is projected to the XY plane. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, true. And the jig is also oriented toward working in plan view.
Yeah. Right? Okay. But it's not necessary. I guess it could be in 3D as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
For this diagonal beam, you use the third beam rule to attach these tools in the concept.
Indeed, yeah.
Okay. How would this work for roofs?
Well, that is an exercise that we will do in the coming weeks. But it will be similar. So let's say you would have the roof, and you go with your mouse, and you would, in the neighborhood of, for example, the valley rafter, it would just highlight, okay, here I can put the valley rafter, and by the click, it will insert that valley rafter. And the same is going to be true to insert the rafters. You will be able to insert individual rafters or fill the whole roof plane with rafters. So, but this is something to be developed in the coming weeks.
It's more like compared to the timber, it's more an interactive dialogue that you can have on a second screen and say, now I'm doing the valleys, select valleys, do some, click. Now I'm going to do the ridge, click on the ridge.
So let's say currently in the timber function, what do we need to do if you want to draw a valley rafter? Is select the 2 roof planes.
Yeah. And now you already calculate the positions. Yeah.
Both of them. So, but now it's recognized the whole roofscaping, and if the mouse goes in the neighborhood of the valley, then it will just highlight the valley line. You do one click, and it will be inserted. I mean, so
that's way
really stop the drawing process.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will speed. I can imagine that everybody who's doing timber needs this, to be honest.
Well, my point taken, Robert. Really, you know.
Don't get your hand started.
I'm all hyped. I'm all hyped seeing this.
So let's see, one of the things that I keep in the back of my head is that let's say if we have the stick framing with the Himalaya, so everything that's being drawn with this program, with this functionality, should also be able to interact with this function. So if you have the, let's say, the Himalaya working and it does the big stick framing, that you can use this function in order to edit some of the things. So you go with your mouse in the neighborhood of a stud, and you want to remove it, just one click and it's gone. And then with the second click, it's going to be positioned on what different position. So that would
but because some of the things could easily be achieved by Himalaya as well, but other things are probably not doable with Himalaya.
Let's say the Himalaya, we want to be able to cover, let's say 95%, 99% of the constructions that we want to make. But there's that little bit that left over, which can consume a lot of time to do. And if we can enhance this function to be able to work with those constructions, it will help the end user to easily modify it. And if that cannot be done, I mean, there will always be cases you still have the most elementary functions in HSB Timber to do your last stuff. But you know that you will with this function you will increase tremendously the efficiency. I mean, I don't have to tell you. I mean, what currently has drawn here, if you would do it with a normal timber function, it wouldn't have been finished within the next hour. With all the beams that have been drawn here, with the connections, with the tools, I mean, you would need a huge amount of time. And here, I mean, if she would do it again without saying anything, I mean, this is drawn in 2-3 minutes.
How do you capture all those different kind of line segments? Is that something that you is it fixed in ACA or is it pulled out of ACA or?
It is hard coded.
No, it's logic that we implemented, eh?
Yeah, but it's only available in ACA.
Yeah. It's inside the engine, but you describe what you would see as applicable, and we can do the same thing in Revit.
Well, not even that. Let's say it could in theory be externalized, because the only thing that you need is, let's say, the floor plan, the grids, and the beams that are in it. So if that is
are let's say those braces, can they only be added if they're already posted in studs, or would it?
Yes.
So the sequence is important.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not all based on elements in grid.
No.
Item containers and grids.
No.
It's also based on beams.
Yes. Which is good. You can manually draw a floor beam, and it will still be able. You will still be able to position a brace on it.
But in the background, let's say whenever a beam is inserted, it is updating the complete, and we call that the GC graph and the Japanese construction graph.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is the logic. It's the logic of the build-up, and I think if you really start working with big drawings, that updating of that part will become critical, but it can be optimized.
Yeah.
Like I tried to explain before, it has a lot of similarity with the structural lines in Revit. If you draw a beam, it has a structural line from a point to a point, and you can add it's Revit structure thing, that you can say from that point to that point, create a beam. It's very similar to Revit structure. But of course not the very typical cases. And it has a lot of similarity with Himalaya as well, for the top plate, the bottom plate, around the openings.
No.
Yeah. So
I feel like it's another application doing its thing. It has a lot of powerful stuff, but I feel that there's a lot of similarity between all of that. It's and
I don't understand what you're saying. A lot of similarity. Do you mean with the Revit structural design, or do you mean with Himalaya?
both. The Himalaya, I see a lot of resemblance with Himalaya on element level. So for example, not the braces up, because then the post needs to be there, but for the top plate and the bottom plate and the left trimmer and the right trimmer and all that kind of stuff, that's really resembles Himalaya, and the other stuff like the bracing and stuff that represents the Revit structure side of things.
I do not agree with your statement, Robert.
Yeah, and the build-up also, while Himalaya is kind of okay, create your model, also put in all the information already to do it, to let the Himalaya engine do its job, and then it's done in one go basically. While here you guide the system. You don't insert construction.
No, but it would be generating one detail line, for example, in Himalaya. It's not present, huh? I'm not saying it looks like current behavior, but it could be behavior that could be implemented by Himalaya. Selecting a detail line, generating the detail line, for example.
Yeah, okay, but again, there is the fundamental difference also is in the interaction with the user. So the system takes the hard part of it, of select the start point, select the end point, select the orientation, and so on. No, that you don't have to do that. That the system guides you in that. And
but I also see that for Himalaya that you select elements or select a floor group or select whatever, and you can cycle through the model and say this add this detail there, add this detail, and it will automatically create the beam.
Well, look at that this way. Let's say you have here a wall, and some of those posts, well, you will not put a post on every grid position. That's the first thing. It's dependent on the aesthetics of the building. Some of those posts will be visible to the when the construction is finished. So that needs another requirement of how and where you're going to position them. So it is designed really based on beam by beam.
Yes.
And not of an element which you just frame and close. So there you really have a specific difference, and we have tried in April to solve this with the stick framing, and that was just not possible because the variations were so complex that you could not capture this with the stick framing. And even, I believe, let's say, if you would have an Himalaya, the rules would be so complex because
No. You don't want to have rules to do this. You want to see the actual model, like the opening editor. You add a trimmer, you see an extra trimmer. You would see the model in an external viewer, and all the possible detail lines are visible, and then you would select one, add the detail to it. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is that it's fully in ACA. That's but it's mainly about the discussion for Revit. I see a lot of potential to have something similar in Revit, of course. Yes.
Okay. Maybe it's also interesting to draw some sheeting.
Or studs.
Or studs, yeah, whatever you want to do, yeah.
Okay. When we insert studs, we can see the brace with jig.
Yes.
Yeah. Like this. And if the opening, headers and cells, then the stats would be spread automatically here and here.
Good.
What happens if you now generate a wall? I mean, how are those
It's
walls?
not compatible.
Are those walls drawn without any anything in them?
Yeah, but well, let's say you draw a wall element with hsb, there is nothing in it, and in fact with this function you start filling those elements.
Okay.
So you draw the beams, not the XZ.
Yeah.
Guys, I have to leave in a couple of minutes to get back to work.
The session is being recorded.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But I see a lot of potential. The only thing is that we would need to somehow in Revit get the same functionality to determine the lines and
To select and
have an interface and well, we need to do a complete new implementation on Revit basically for this with the knowledge you did in ACA,
Yes.
of course.
Well,
I
we
also
don't
see some performance issues there because in Revit it's not going to respond as fast as ACA. So I think maybe this approach is not that feasible in Revit. So we really should think about that one as well.
No. But also if the beam is created takes a little bit of time, it's not an issue, huh? If you need to do it manually, you spend way more time.
Of course, but you might want to avoid the auto adding all the tools and then after you drawn everything, then add all the tools.
Yeah. I see it as separate commands that just
additional considerations, definitely. Yeah, but we do not have anything yet to draw beams, to draw construction.
Well, there's that pick line thing, huh? That you can select the edge of a wall. Well, basically the same thing, huh? Select. It's pretty similar to this, huh? You select the edge of the wall, the bottom edge of the wall, and it adds the beam to that edge. It's
that type of thing, absolutely. But maybe a little bit more. If you know more about the system, you can implement more automation. Basically, that's it. So here the rules are set up. It's a well-defined system. The stud goes from plate to plate. The header goes from post to post, and so on. So if you know that, you can implement it. That's why we were able to do that. But yeah, if it's not known, we wouldn't be able to. Yeah. Okay. Sheeting maybe, yeah.
Sheeting.
Okay, guys. Have a good day.
Bye, Robert.
Bye.
Go back to work.
Bye.
Bye, Robert.
I think it's okay. The concept is more or less clear.
Okay, then move on to the sheeting.
Yeah, if you can. I don't know if you are sufficient. Please. Yeah.
So sheeting.
So Alex, die programma's die nu gebruikt worden in Japan, dus die dat doen, de Japanse meteen van prijs.
Ik weet dat die bedrijven ongeveer een omzet waren van 65 miljoen in het jaar, die software leveren. Dus dat zijn potentiële markten.
That's crimineel. Is that the sheeting? Is that the floor?
Floor,
Yeah, floor.
sheeting.
Okay.
So it goes and detects closed loops, I believe. And then when you select it, because the jig gives you confirmation. If you're not happy, you can cancel and go back and define maybe some more plates and so on.
But this is all new, or no? It's old, eh? It's
Some of it, yeah. let's say, the concept was present, but now since half a year maybe
It's reworked.
it's completely reworked. Yeah.
Actually, the area should be not per room, should be the whole floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that it is something that an option that I will introduce,
Yeah.
but it has to look only to the external walls
Mm,
and make there separately.
okay.
And you can do the same for the walls itself. So now you've done the floors.
The walls then will go through the wall
Yeah.
to do the
Sheeting.
sheeting.
Sheeting distribution.
The wall exit. You mean generate construction?
Yes. But that will only generate the sheeting.
Okay.
In theory, I would also be able to do that completely within this picture, within this desired function. But let's say, because there is now already function that is doing it, let's not do, let's say, other work that is already, I mean, we have too much to do. So when this is working, this is okay for me. And I also think for Japan to do the sheeting with the wall exit.
Are there specific rules in the sheeting?
No,
that
just,
you know?
just have to they have to
Follow
sit
the
on
studs.
on the studs.
But the studs are already drawn,
Yes, they are drawn. So
or even the supporting studs for nailing, no?
yeah,
Where can I have the joints? Can I have the joints in all the beams? Or some beams are excluded?
some beams are excluded that have a dimension which is too narrow.
And around openings, you
About there?
start at the opening or?
Well, let's say, well, we can have a look at that later on.
I just want to see how they do it to see if we have that sheeting system in place, yes or no.
Yeah.
Because that's a big issue then.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that we have that. The sheeting is.
And around the openings, do you have also the?
Yes, you have gaps. That has to be respected. So this is the sheeting should be possible, but that's something that in the coming weeks we will double check. And but those things, let's say, are
Sheeting
now
is only
seen
at
as
the-
elements. So if you make an element elevation drawing, you have it from the.
Yeah, but the sheeting is only at the outside. Eh? You
Yes.
don't put sheeting at the inside.
No. Just the external walls, one side.
One layer.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what they also need is the insulation. So insulation needs also to be solved, the external wall.
Okay, but we have TSRs for that.
Yeah, but okay, yeah, some are failing. Let's say we have tried it and it's failing due to the metal parts that are in it. So it just needs to do some rework. So this one, when I really think about what we need to do for Japan, I would say all the components are there except for the roof. But there are things that just needs to be made more efficient, cleaned up, bug-free. That is in fact the thing for the coming weeks. And I want that, let's say, in the first week of January, we really then work on the demo set, on the demonstration that we're going to give to Workstation. So there's still a lot of work, but I think a lot can be achieved.
Okay, guys, I think we're more or less ready with our demonstration. Thank you very much, Yasuko. So unless there's any particular questions, we can close this meeting. Or if there's anything you still want to ask or have explained.
Should I send this video, this recording to everyone?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jill.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Wow.
Dat er zo'n beetje van nieuws, dat dan naar iedereen gestuurd wordt. Dat dan iedereen dat dan op zijn ding.